today's a really big day. We're out on the site and we just finished the concrete slab pour, and we're the very first week of framing the project. And this is going to be a several week process, several months to get this all framed up. And so we're right now with Vince Thomas of Thomas Framing, and Vince is a pro at this, and we're just going to talk to Vince about sort of where his first steps are, and he's going to give us a little bit of background on sort of the steps of framing a project like this. So Vince, this is not framed like you would do a typical project. There's some unique things about this project, right?
Yeah, because for one thing, it's 2 floors too. So I got to correct each wall. With some balloon up to the 2nd floor, some stay down to the 1st floor. So you got to really pay attention to all that good stuff.
So let's walk over here and look at this right here. Tell us what is this that's right here?
This is a sealant. That's a sealant for bugs, for any kind of water, anything that goes in that won't escape air, water from underneath the walls.
We call that it's a foundation seal, right? So what
there
there is a piece of foam. This is a piece of peel and stick material right here that goes up this way like this. So we're going to have exterior plywood that goes on the outside of this. It's going to nail against this.
Yep.
This folds over against it and sticks to the plywood and seals it. This side seals against the slab here. So there's no way that any water, bugs, any kind of air vapor can get into the house under this section of wall. So it's a really very, very good way to go. This system is expensive, but
it's good.
There's no other system that really does all of this. So this is a product that we learned to use about 10 years ago on a LEED Platinum certified house that we did, and this is required for a LEED Platinum house. So we've now used this on all of our projects. On the big scope of the project, that's a small cost for a big benefit. So we're going to go over here. Now, Vince, let's walk here and talk about describe what this is and why you put it on. It goes all the way around here. What is the thinking of putting all these in? Why do you do that?
This is the footprint. So these are basically the footprint of the whole building. This is the 2x. These are my walls.
So this is where a wall's going to go.
Yes, it's going to be a wall. So I'll snap the lines. I'll square everything first before I even put any wood down. So I'll have these. There's actually, if you can see it, there's red line snapped.
Okay, let's look in close. So right here, you've got a chalk line. Is that what you've done?
It's squared.
Is you've compared. Yeah. So right here, this is a chalk line you snapped, and I see another line here. And basically, what you're doing is checking to see if the foundation is a little bit off.
Yep.
To make sure that the wood frame is, you correct it.
I'll correct it with my lines to make sure everything, so what the plans are is what my lines are. As I always do that, but I always got to square everything too to make sure everything's good too with it.
So this is a way of doing the geometry to make sure that the footprint is exactly right.
Exactly.
Now, how often is it that you'll start to lay this out and find small errors in the foundation work?
Okay, well, this it's not, you don't see it that much right here. It's only, you see it's a little bit fatter right here.
Yeah, I see that here. So this is about half inch, and this is 3/4.
Yeah,
so it's about a 1/4 inch off.
So that was correct. That's how I corrected it with my line.
Got it. Right. So by the foundation work is accurate, but not to the degree that you're accurate.
My stuff is all for because everything that I have to do is I got wood joists, wood trusses. That's got to be exactly the number that are on the plan. So I got to make sure my walls are exactly what they are.
So
and the steel too.
As a framer, what level of precision are you framing to? What level are you, like to the 1/8 of an inch?
Oh yeah, I have to, because especially when they're still. Especially when you got a bunch of steel framing in here, I got to make sure my stuff's right, because even if I have to, even if their still's a little bit off, I can correct it with my stuff. Even if I have to adjust it, just so there's still I-beams will go perfectly with my walls.
Okay. So the idea here is that you're almost building a piano.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. You're almost building. You're precise to the degree that where an 1/8 inch counts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with steel.
And we have doors and windows that have to fit into these openings, and everything is precise. Like for example, right here, you've got this wall that the plumbing is in it, and there's just some precision layout to make sure the plumbing is inside the wall, and it just fits. I see here it's like within an eighth of an inch. It'll just fit in the wall. And then there's there ever a chance where you would find that the plumbing is off?
Okay, so if the plumbing's off, depending on how much the plumbing's off, because the plumbing walls you can adjust. You can adjust them, you know, like because they're for all plumbing. So like if they're off on my wall, I'll adjust it so they get in. So it actually will cover, instead of tearing the concrete back out and the plumbing also, I can just adjust it with my wall, and if I need to, I can fur it back for the wall and make it bigger.
But that would change the thickness of the wall, and you would let us know.
Yeah, I always would. Well, yeah, you have to, because I'm saying, hey, listen.
That's going to affect something else.
I always will question it too if something's wrong.
Right.
Like there's one over here that's actually like wrong.
Uh-oh.
but I had, but I couldn't adjust
I think I know what it is. So we'll talk about that in a minute. One more question now. What is this wood here? Is a green color, and it's got little. If you zoom in on this, it's got little dimples in it. Versus this piece of wood is not. What is this and what is this?
Okay, so the green one is got this green stuff in it. And so when
they put preservative.
And they put these dimples in it, so they push it in so it actually soaks into the wood.
Okay.
This one doesn't need it. This one, since it's on the ground, so this one so it'll last longer, and it doesn't rot.
Okay, so that's why they call that a plate. It's a special kind of wood. Goes
Copper
down
green.
on the ground. Right. Okay, and then. Now, I noticed you got the bolts. Some of these bolts, they're all nice and true and straight. You went through, I remember seeing them after they poured. They were a little bit crooked here and there. What do you do to straighten them?
So I got a bar. I have a bar somewhere here, like that bar right there.
Let's take a look at that. So, this bar?
Yep, that bar.
Show us how what would be like there. That one looks a little crooked right there.
So
like
that. See this one right here, this off? You just click this.
Okay. And that same with that one, you just bend that.
Yep,
okay.
Just like that.
I see. Okay.
Except if you got a bunch of time.
Yeah. So you just go through and true them all up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And these were cast into the slab by the concrete contractor. All right.
Yeah. So I just got to go around. That's what we got to do around. Check out all the books.
Okay.
So that's so the wall could go straight down to without any interference. Because if they're bent like that, it'll break the plates. Like as I'm trying to get it down, trying to lift the weight of this wall when I'm putting them down.
So we had a meeting in our office last week where we went through a portion of the house. This house has 3 zones. The zone over here is what we call the garage, and upstairs guest bedroom zone. There's a middle zone, which is this area, which is the kitchen, dining room, and great room. And then this zone over here is the office and the ground floor owner suite area, and there are 3 separate zones. And what we decided was that Vince was going to work on this phase of the work this direction. And the reason you're doing that, Vince, is because in here we're going to have cranes coming in and equipment, putting all kinds of steel in.
Yeah, with all the moment framing
and all kinds of things out here.
Bridge thing.
And then we've got this section that you're going to do this section as phase 2. Because it's all framed, and we'll make the last part here in the middle, what you kind of close it in at the end, right here. So that's kind of our process. Now the plywood that you've got, it's not plywood on the outside. That is what kind of material? Let's walk over here.
It's considered plywood. It's OSB.
OSB, and so let's talk about that. So. This is called OSB, and OSB means oriented strand board. OSB. These are chips that are laid down on a machine in a factory, and they fall down randomly, and their strength, they're pressed with a big press with glue, and they make a board that's dimensionally strong because of all the different directions of the wood. Now, what would be the reason to use this versus, say, a plywood, and what's the difference?
Okay, so there's CDX, and that's the plywood, and this gives you an alternative that you can either use depending on the engineer, or, it depends on what they want.
Okay.
Then it's all depending on how they want it to, because they can either use this one, and then but someone will call just CDX, and that's the plywood.
Okay.
And you only can use that. You can't use it, but they gave me an alternative to use this.
So this is an option to use as an alternative to plywood. And if you notice here where we got nails, these nails are that the engineer tells us how far apart these nails have to be, and there'll be an inspection by the local building inspector, and they're going to come and they're going to measure these nails to make sure that where this seam is, there as many nails as the engineer calls out.
Yep. And
So
they'll call out for a certain galvanized nails on the bottom than just regular steel nails on top. The galvanized is so they don't rust, because that's where the most water and stuff goes to the bottom.
And all the other reason is this material that is got the preservative in it will corrode regular nails.
Yeah.
So galvanized protects the nails from corrosion. So that's another reason here. This is an interesting detail right here. This is a drain pipe that we've got that goes all the way up into through this cavity here that we have that will drain part of the roof. So we'll come and visit this later, but this is a drain pipe that we put in. And this pipe goes down and makes a big sweep like this. Doesn't come down and go straight. And the reason we did that is that the owner's bed is right here. And what will happen after a storm, at the very end of the storm, for a couple hours, you'll hear drip, 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 drip off the roof. You can hear it from your bed. It'll hit that bottom flat part. You hear this tick, 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 tick. And so by putting a curve, the water will hit that and it won't make any sound. So it's our little trick that we use when we're next to a bed. So that's another thing. So what about this beam? Now I noticed this beam, if we come in close and take a look at it, take a look over here and look at all the layers. It's like a big thick piece of plywood when you look at the layers.
A lot of glue.
And that's called an LV or PSL.
PSL or LVL.
Yeah.
They're almost all the same. They got their push glue. It's glue holds everything together, and to make them really strong, they spec out real strength with a lot of strength. That's why you can, for an opening this big, usually if it was regular wood, if it was dug fir, it'd expect out for a bigger beam right there because of the span. But these are made where they could take the span for
It's
even
a man-made beam that's engineered almost like, I would say it's about 50%, well, it maybe, I don't know, but it could be as strong as a piece of steel or 75% the strength of steel.
Because it's stronger than a regular solid piece of wood.
But it's much stronger than a
solid,
solid,
a regular beam.
than a solid piece of wood. You know, that's a solid piece of wood. Okay. Now this is a 2x6 wall.
Yep.
We have 2x6 walls on the outside here. We'll take a look. And one of the reasons we do this is not always for structure, to hold the building up. We do this because we have to have a minimum depth in here to put insulation into the wall for energy. So we have 5-inch thick insulation in here that will fill this up with a 1/2 inch of airspace. And then we'll have our drywall on top. Okay. So what is your next? You say you're going to do some work in here.
So this is So we got the floor, the first floor.
There's an attic here.
Yeah, which is
floor of the attic.
Floor of the attic, which
Right.
would be considered the first floor basically.
Right.
So we'll joist this out, plywood this, and then start framing the second floor on top of that.
Okay, so we have a little storage attic here. This will be a little lower ceiling in this room, and then as we come through this passage, this is going to be a real high ceiling in this room. It's going to be pretty dramatic space in the owner's suite.
Yeah,
right
that's
here.
why those studs are. That's what it's gonna.
Yeah.
Once I get all this stuff done, then I'll snap these and get them all. Get all the beams in, then I'll snap this. Get it all perfectly lined straight, and then I'll snap the break of this whole roof.
Okay. So, is there any other things that you want to give some sort of insight on, a little tip on? Now you're using this tractor over here. This is a pretty big tractor.
Yeah, it's a 10K.
You're just using this to lift up plywood and
walls.
move it over here, but do you use this to actually, as
Yeah, I
a
use
kind
the
of a
walls.
hoist?
Yeah, I use it to lift walls. I got a stinger over the right where you guys actually parked, right by the stinger of it.
What's a stinger?
A stinger is a reach boom that makes I can hook walls to pick up when I frame
can
my
lift the
wall
whole
to the
wall with
Yep,
this.
I'll frame the wall on the ground, I'll strap it, and I'll lift the whole wall.
Okay.
That's what I was doing on all
Next
these.
time we'll watch you. We'll get a shot of you lifting a wall. Okay. Well, this is a great, exercise in how to frame. You can see how the bolts here that you put a large washer in.
Yeah, I got to put that in, but these ones are slotted washer. I don't have the washer. There's a round washer that's got to sit on top of that.
Right.
That's still got to go on. I'm just holding that.
Temporarily
so
holding.
Yeah, holding my walls down right now until I get them on there.
Okay. Well, thanks, Vince. This is impressive. Vince has been working here since Monday, and at this rate, he's going to have a house done next Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Vince.
You're
It's
welcome.
great. We're looking forward to seeing how you do this project. It's going to be great.
Yeah.